It's finally here. The 2021 Iowa Hawkeyes lineup preview. How many guys are returning? Who could become All-Americans? And who's there for backup in case somebody gets hurt? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to another lineup preview here on Fanco Wrestling. We're diving deep into the 2021 Iowa Hawkeyes dominant team. They're looking to have a phenomenal season, and I'm super excited to tell you who is going to be on that team from 125 all the way up to heavyweight. This is just a stacked lineup. The only guys that are leaving the Hawkeyes are Pat Lugo at 149, which is a big loss, but also they are losing Gavin Teasdale. He is now transferred out, and we are going to see who is left in this lineup. This is such a stacked lineup still. Now, we have to start out at 125 pounds, and look, it's not really any big surprise here that Spencer Lee is going to be your guy, and I don't think that this lineup preview is necessarily to be like, oh, it's surprising that this guy's going to start over him. It's just to look at like how well this team is going to do this year, how good and dominant this team is, but also a couple of the backups. So, look, we're looking at the backups here at 125 in Spencer Lee at the top, but we also have Colin Shriver, who is a freshman, and Jesse Ibarra, who is also a freshman. Now, Ibarra is a top 25 recruit, a three-time Arizona State champ, whereas Shriver is a three-time Iowa State champion. Now, each of these guys is going to be tough and great for the lineup after Spencer Lee leaves, after he graduates after this year, but Spencer Lee is going to be your top dog. I mean, he is such an exciting guy to watch wrestle. Undefeated last season, was on par to be a three-time national champion. The Hodge Trophy winner, he did win last season. It is just absolutely, I mean, he's the most dominant wrestler, not just for the Iowa Hawkeyes, but in all of college wrestling, in my opinion. I mean, he's just absolutely exciting to watch wrestle and just tear guys apart from top to bottom. And that, I mean, that he's going to be a strong guy at 25. And then we move up to 33 and just get another back-to-back combo in Austin DeSanto. DeSanto now is going to be another dominant guy here. He's going to have a little bit tougher of a time, unfortunately, because of his teammate, because Spencer Lee is so dominant at 125. So many guys are fleeing up to 133 pounds. We've seen it happen with guys, and, you know, is it that surprising? Maybe not, but at 33, guys see that maybe it's a little bit more open just because there is no number one guy that nobody can beat. It's just anybody can win at 133. But Austin DeSanto is a guy who is going to be in contention for another All-American. He has some threats, though. Roman Bravo Young is going to be a big threat of his. Stefan Micic, Dayton Fix. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. He has some strong wins in the past. I mean, a big win over Ridge Lovett of Nebraska. Petrowski this past year he beat with a loss. He does have to Roman Bravo Young, but he does have a win over him in the past. So look, he's coming into the season ranked number 4, and we could see him bump up or down, but, you know, Austin DeSanto is a guy who will bounce back, and I think will do extremely well this upcoming season in his senior year. And as we move on to 149, this at 149 is a weight where Max Marin was here last year. I mean, we could still see him here next year, depending on where the Hawkeyes decide on their lineup to be. But I think likely we're going to see Jaden Ironman get that spot here at 149. And Jaden Ironman, I mean, he is a three-time All-American, and what a time he's going to have now that he's transferred from Missouri to the Hawkeyes. Three-time All-American, placing 5th, 4th, and 3rd consecutively. And here's the most exciting part about Ironman for you Hawkeyes fans, and even just for wrestling fans. He's going to make 141 so exciting because he's the only guy in Yanni's 66 wins to beat him. He's the only guy making Yanni 66-1. He's beat Yanni in his freshman year, and look, Yanni has beat Ironman since then, but it's still the fact that these two battle every single time they wrestle, and that's going to be no different this year going into the 2021 season at 141 pounds. And as we move up to 149 pounds, this is where we see Max Marin going to be filling in for Pat Lugo. Now, we have a couple of these other guys who are in on the back end, and look, a couple of these guys are going to be tough for the Hawkeyes in the future, but really we want to focus now on Max Marin and how well he's going to do for the Hawkeyes. And he is going to do well. I mean, he is currently ranked number 7 right now at 149 pounds. Now, he may be ranked higher or lower, depending if he was at 41. But right now, Ironman's ranked number 2 at 41. Max Murin, on the other hand, look, he's a Midlands champion, a contender for an All-American, made the round of 12 in 2019. And he had some losses on the season. His biggest nemesis really last year was Chad Red. But I think, having a 16-3 record, filling in for Pat Lugo, it's going to be tough bumping up, but I think Max Murin will be able to get the job done and do well for the Hawkeyes at that weight. It's just crazy when you have such two guys who could be ranked in the top 10 competing essentially at the same weight. One of them's got to bump up or down, and that's the case here. And then we move on to 157. So we're looking at about halfway through the lineup now. We get to Caleb Young, but the other guy I want to mention here is Bretley Reyna. Reyna is a freshman going to likely take that red shirt, a top 50 recruit in the class of 2020 and a 4-time Florida State champion. I think it's very impressive to note that he actually has over 200 career wins. But the starter here at 57 next year, since Reyna is going to be taking that red shirt likely, is going to be Caleb Young. Caleb Young is the senior. I mean, this team's kind of low to his seniors this year, which is great for this year, but, questionable for the years to come. But Caleb Young, 15-5 last year, Midlands champion, a former All-American. He placed 5th. Unfortunately for him, look, he didn't necessarily have the best Big Ten tournament. He kind of fell off and just did not have a good tournament at all. But I think he's somebody who can rebound. Now, you really want guys to peak at that time. He didn't. He was not able to peak at that time, but he did have a 13-match winning streak before the end of the season. So not the best end, but he is the same guy who beat Ryan Deacon twice in the past, who is your top-ranked guy at 157 pounds. So do not count Caleb Young out. Now, at this point in the video, I want to bring up the fact that the new Fanco Wrestling Shop is up and available. You could see in this video, I've been wearing the Iowa Hawkeyes themed Fanco Wrestling shirt. So I've actually made an upgrade to the shop to create better designs, more comfortable apparel, and at an affordable price. So if you click the link below, you can check out hats, joggers, shirts, and more. It's a great way to support the channel so that I can continue to make videos in the future, as well as getting some awesome wrestling gear for yourself. Another thing I have on is the Hawkeyes hat, which I have down below linked up, so you can check that out for yourself. And then we're going to move on now into 165 pounds. At 165 pounds, this is where we have Alex Marinelli. He's the only guy here for the Hawkeyes. I mean, you could see guys bump up or down, but right now he is the only guy. This is a weight that the Hawkeyes need to recruit for in the future, because Marinelli is going to be a big loss for the teams. I mean, really big loss. So he is coming into the season ranked top guy at 165 pounds. Besides Micaiah Lewis, who's going to be his biggest competition at 165. We've seen those two wrestle in the past. It was a great match, but Micaiah Lewis got the better of him at the national tournament. He had a 20-1 record last year, only lost coming to Vincenzo Joseph. But Alex Marinelli is a guy he's the bull, man. He's going to be continuing to push heads, dominate guys, pinning guys, even guys who are in the top 10 and looking at All-American status. He's a guy I hope really competes well at the national tournament. We've seen him not do the best at the end of the year, but I think that he has it in his head now, especially with this last year being canceled, that he is in it to win it. And that takes us to another guy who's in it to win it, in Michael Kemmerer. Now, before I get to Michael Kemmerer, I want to talk about Patrick Kennedy, who is a true freshman coming into this season out of Minnesota, a 4-time Minnesota State champion, as well as a Fargo champion and a top 10 recruit. He is the Hawkeyes' biggest get in the class of 2020, and he will be huge for the Hawkeyes in the future. But because Michael Kemmerer was granted that 6th year, he's going to have an unbelievable year, especially with his great year last year and a stunning victory over Mark Hall. I mean, he just took it to Mark Hall last year and just scoring takedown after takedown after takedown, stunned people. He was having a good season up to that point, but people were like, is he really that good now that he's up from 57 to 74? Yes, he is that good, and he's going to continue to do that well this year. Ranked number 1 at the weight, 15-1 last year, and only going to do better this year, in my opinion, although he will face some strong competition. Now, as we move on to 184 pounds. This is the weight for the Hawkeyes where you have Abe Assad. Now, you also have Nelson Brands here. Both these guys being sophomores, but it's kind of tough for the Hawkeyes when you have two strong guys. But ultimately last year, although Nelson Brand started out this season, we ended up seeing Abe Assad coming in halfway through and ended up placing at the Big Ten tournament. Now, he also placed at the Midlands Championships where he took second. And in the end, after Midlands, after a couple other things that the brand saw, they decided that Assad was the guy at 184 pounds. He was the guy, and he's going to be the guy likely this upcoming year with his great wins over Rocky Jordan, Taylor Vance, former All-American, Zach Bronigal. He's going to face some competition against Caffey of Michigan State and Aaron Brooks of Penn State, but they see that Assad is the guy, and he can do well for the Hawkeyes this upcoming season. And that takes us to 197. At 197, we have a pretty loaded weight for them. A lot of depth here with these guys. From all over, from freshmen, redshirt freshmen, to seniors, juniors, and Jacob Warner is the junior. Zach Glazier, the redshirt freshman, coming in with a 19-2 record last year, a top 100 recruit out of Minnesota in 2019. We also have Gabe Christensen, who is a state champion. But then ultimately we have Jacob Warner, and Jacob Warner has done well for the Hawkeyes in the past, continues to do well for them in the future going into his junior year, where he is ranked number 5 in the preseason. Now, he placed at Midlands last year, and he actually wrestled his teammate in Zach Glazier last year in a wrestle-off where he beat him 8-3. So that's why Warner's likely going to keep that starting spot. Now, just again, the Braves are going to put in who they think's best. So if they think somebody else is better than him, they could see that. But I don't see that happening, considering the fact that Warner is a former All-American. He's done well for the team in the past, and he had an excellent Big Ten championships where he ended up beating Shakur Rashid. It ultimately was an injury default, but he ended up defeating Shakur Rashid in if you were watching the match, he beat him 4th, 3rd, and 4th, ended up placing at the Big Ten Championships and had a solid year all around. And 285 pounds. This brings us to the end of the Hawkeyes lineup. And look, Theda Cassiopeia is going to be your starter here. You have Aaron Costello, also the junior, 18-4 last year, but Cassiopeia, the sophomore Midlands champion, where he had a great match against Matt Stenzel. He just continued to climb the ranks, climb the ladder, and was a clear number 3 guy in the ranks last year. He has those losses to Gable Stevenson and Mason Paris, which is going to hold him back a little bit coming into the season, but he's going to make those adjustments. He's going to make those changes. And we're going to see how he's going to do coming into this season, against those guys and which changes he actually did end up making. Now, the Hawkeyes are a team who are right now the clear national title contenders, and I'm excited to see how many All-Americans this team could have. 10 potential All-Americans right now based on their ranks. Now, if you want to check out another wrestling video, you can check this video out right here. And for all lineup previews, all Big Ten and other conferences, you can click this video down below.